Hi, I'm Laura Henry, and I am a craft dabbler, and I'm also a close to my heart demonstrator. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to make this Halloween themed shadow box using Design Space, my Cricut, and vinyl. I'm using the Cricut glitter vinyl for part of my project and also the black vinyl. And that's some of the older transfer tape that I had, and it works great with the regular vinyl, but it didn't work very good with the glitter vinyl. So the glitter vinyl came with its own transfer tape, and that's what I ended up using later. I cut my haunted house and a cat out of slate. No, that's not right. Out of pewter cardstock. That cat was tiny, but look how good it cut out. It's really impressive. So I used a light box that I had to weed away the vinyl that I don't want in my project. And Cricut has a new light box out, and I thought I would try my light box just to see if I liked it. And either the Cricut light box is a lot more powerful than mine, or it didn't work with the black vinyl. But in the rest of my project, I don't end up using the light box because I found it to be of no value. So I'm removing those little pieces here that I don't want in this, and this is the cauldron. And later in the video, I end up cutting away the handle and like the flames that are coming up out of it because they didn't fit on my shadow box with the words. So I just put that transfer tape onto the cauldron for now, and then I set it aside, and because I'm not ready to use it at this point of the project. Right there I am burnishing it down so that the front side of the vinyl will stick to the back of the transfer tape. Then we're going to remove later the back of that so that the sticky part of the vinyl sticks to the project. So now I'm weeding away the green glitter vinyl, and this is where the words are. And so I'm peeling it back very carefully so that I don't peel up the lettering with the excess glitter paper, and it peeled off very well, and it cut very well. And in my Cricut design space or design studio, I used the custom setting, and I found glitter vinyl in the menu, and so it knows how deep to cut because I chose the correct product that I was cutting. So I'm using my close to my heart tweezers, and I've never used them before. Actually, they're new to me, and they worked really well right here to get the insides of all the letters out because they are super pointy, and they really got in there, and I was able to peel up the insides of the letters and then grab them with the tweezers and pull them out. And so I really like these tweezers, and they are going to be something that I use all the time when I am weeding because they can really grab those little bitty pieces and pick them out of the small spaces. So I'm just continuing through peeling out the unwanted parts of the lettering. I left this on my Cricut mat because the Cricut cutting mat is so sticky, it holds that in place for me, but I turned it upside down so that I wouldn't be putting my fingers on the mat and putting the oils on my hands on it, and so that it would lose some of the matte stickiness over time. And that is the Cricut transfer tape or transfer paper that came with the vinyl, the glitter vinyl. And so I'm just putting that over it, and I like it because it has grids on it and it's see-through, so you can see where you're putting it, and the grids help you keep it lined up when you put it on whatever you're putting it on. So I'm burnishing it down very well so that the letters will stick to that transfer tape. And I've never used this kind of transfer tape before, but the paper from I guess the backing of the glitter vinyl stuck to the letters, and I've never had that happen before with other vinyls. This is the first time I've used glitter vinyl though, so maybe that's common. So again, I used those close to my heart pointy tweezers, and I was able to just pick off the backing paper off of it to reveal the sticky side of the vinyl. And yeah, it took a little bit of time, but it really wasn't a very big deal. So, in hindsight, I'm not sure what I could have done any different, but this really did work to peel those off. Notice how I'm using that leftover sticky glitter paper to put my scraps on, and that was really handy to have there. It helped get the paper off of my tweezers. So I'm using the grid on that paper to line this up. This is actually the second one I did, and the first time I did it, it was crooked, so I had to redo it. And so I used the grids, and at that time I got it on straight. And here you'll notice you can see the lettering really well, but later when I put the back on it, that green doesn't show up, and I kind of wish I'd used a black. So I just burnished that down with the back of my, what I like to call my dental tool there. And now I'm peeling off that transfer tape or transfer paper, and that came off beautifully and left the letters. And must have had one that was sticking up and I poked it down. So here's where I was getting ready to adhere the cauldron, and the flame in the handle would have covered up some of the lettering. And so at first I just thought I needed to get in there better, so I was just removing some of that transfer tape, but then I realized it was going to cover up my lettering. So I peeled it back off, and I end up cutting the that handle and that flame off. And I kind of hated it because I had some purple glitter paper that was going to go over that flame, and it would have been really cute, but I didn't get to use it. So I ended up using the knife. It's kind of like an X-Acto knife sort of that came in my toolkit for my original Cricut to slice some of that off. And then I just discarded the scraps that I didn't need. And that could have been cut off in design space, but I didn't know I was going to need to. I wanted to make my letters as big as I could fit onto that, um, with but yet where I left room for the cauldron. So it was just fiddling with it in design space. So here I'm rubbing the cauldron because there are a few little air bubbles in there. And I had used that old transfer tape on the back of that, but that's that glitter paper, and it really didn't peel up very good. So I went with the new transfer tape that came with the glitter paper, and I'm trying to use that, and it leaves that paperback on the back of the vinyl. So again, I use those pointy tweezers, and I am peeling that off, and those tweezers just really came in handy in this project. And once I get all the paper off, I'm gonna line it up. There's some little cut marks that are on that cauldron, and it helps to show me where to put that top layer, and that's like supposed to be like the bubbling stuff, witch's brew, I guess. So here I just had some water in my craft room and a spray bottle, and I dumped some into that paint well, and I'm just wetting this whole watercolor paper. And I was just preparing that surface so that the paints would move and blend easier. And now I'm going to go in the rainbow order, and I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to paint some yellow at the bottom. And then in between the colors, I'm going to rinse my brush in that water, and then I'm going to go to the orange paint, and I'm going to put it up above it and then try to blend it in with the yellow. And it looks a little streaky here, but when I put the house on it and all is said and done, it looks really good. So the next color I'm using is a red, and I started up higher so that the color could be more concentrated up higher, and then blended it in with the orange at the bottom. And I was trying to keep so much of that paint out of the water, so I was trying to blot it off on the paper towel first. So next I went to blue, and the blue and the red didn't really blend into a purple very well, so I went back and added purple in between the blue and the pink. And I just wanted a little bit more purple in my background. So I'm kind of trying to make a sunset here. So I always like to put black at the top because that makes it more like a night sky. And then I just blended that into the blue. And this really wasn't as vibrant as I had hoped that it would be. And so I went back in and filled in, that is a little darker red. And I just filled back in with some of the other colors just to make it a little bit more vibrant. So you can see here, it is a little bit streaky, but in all honesty, the paper pilled up a little bit, and it really doesn't blend as well as I would like it to, and I think that probably comes down to the paper quality, I'm sorry to say. But after this is dried, there's kind of, it pilled up a little bit, but I was able to just brush it with my hand, and all of that came off, and it looked a lot smoother, and it really looks good in the end, and so I'm happy with it. So I just took my heat tool to speed along the drying process, and it did curl up my paper, so I tried to go from the back and then to the front, and to straighten out the paper a little bit. And I didn't really want to turn it over and lay it down because the paint was on my mat on my table, and I didn't want to get paint on the front side that was laying on the table. So I just held it with my hands and blow dried it a little bit. And I set it to the side, and now I put it in the shoebox lid, and that's the gold shimmer brush, and I'm just tapping it against my scissors and just trying to splatter it. And I'm not sure if you can really see it in the video, but where the darker colors are, you can see that glitter later, and I just kind of wanted it to look like stars. So here I'm just kind of eyeballing it and seeing it how I like it. I took a piece of like poster board, or I'm not sure what that stuff's called, but I just like grunge board, but I had a scrap of it, and I cut it to 6 inches, and then I used the liquid glass glue to adhere those together just to make it a little bit more sturdy and durable, because this is going to be the back of that shadow box, and that's what's going to show is that grunge board. So I am getting out my house, and you can see I made that house smaller. Yeah, I didn't make it go all the way out to the edge of the paper because I knew the edge of the frame was going to cover part of it up. So I left gaps around the edges for that. So this is my Cuttlebug, and I am cutting out a piece of Canary Cardstock in the 2-inch circle in the thin cut circle dies, and that's going to be the moon. And then I put that back there, and then I realized you could see all the way through the windows, and so I got some of the canary paper, just scraps, and I cut little pieces, and I glued them back behind the windows with the dual action glue pen. And I adhered that moon with that liquid glass. I could have used the dual action glue pen, I just didn't. So here's where I'm gluing the yellow on the backs of the windows. And I just kind of eyeballed it, and yeah, it doesn't have to be pretty. This part's not going to show. I left the doorway open because I knew I wanted the cat to stand in that doorway, and that's really more like a, I don't know, maybe a porch, you know, so it could be open. But all of the windows, I put the yellow behind it. Or maybe I did cover, yeah, I did cover that with the yellow, but then I put the cat on the front, and yeah, so the cat's gonna sit in that window. So I'm just covering all of that with the dual action glue pen. And I didn't want any of that liquid glass to squish out because it would dry shiny, and the dual action glue pen dries matte, so if a little bit of it squished out, it wouldn't matter when it dries. And so now I'm using that on the cat as well, and I'm putting him in the window. And I just wanted to see how that was going to look. And I really like it. I wish, we could read the lettering better on that, but you can still read it in person, but it doesn't show up very well in the video and in the pictures. So I'm using the liquid glass around the edge of that frame, and I'm just gluing that backing on it. And I did check to make sure it was right side up before I glued it down. So thank you for watching. I'll leave links to the products below.